Hello traders, this is another edition of StrayDog's weekly videos, and this one is recording on Saturday, July the 20th. And as always, I will try to cover the bigger picture on the US indices, S&P, Nasdaq and Russell, and on the German DAX. This is the daily charts of the cash indices. And this previous week, on two occasions, we have the liquidation breaks on US indices. On German DAX, we have here situation. The DAX is again leaning on the daily 50. In both countries, earnings cycle is in the full speed, and we are entering in the second week of earnings. And usually, those second and third weeks of the earnings carry the biggest number of companies. And we also have the busy week with news, and we will have some overlapping, especially on Wednesday and on Thursday, with very important news and earnings. So on Wednesday, we will have German flash manufacturing PMI and German flash services PMI, also US flash manufacturing PMI. And note that when you have these PMI releases, flash release will come first, and thus it carry the most impact on the markets. On Thursday, we will have German IFO business climate. It is a important news for German market, and then for entire Europe markets and for European traders, a very important things: ECB main financing rate, monetary policy statement, and on top of that, ECB press conference. Also that day, US durable goods month on month, and on Friday we will have in US advanced GDP quarter on quarter and advanced GDP price index. Now both of these news also have several releases, and advanced is the first one, thus again carry more impact to the markets. And as earnings report is concerned, the market is going to look at the most of these three companies that are members of the FANG stocks. As always, market will look the most on those companies that are the leaders, and Facebook, Amazon and Google are the leaders currently. So in Germany we will also have a very busy earnings week, and with 6 DAX components reporting on Wednesday: Daimler, Covestro and Deutsche Börse, and on Thursday BASF, Deutsche Bank and Volkswagen. Now let's go into the charts now. So this is the S&P cash index chart, and we will also look at the daily and the weekly charts with the cash index, and on CFDs, which is the chart very similar or exactly the same as the futures chart. So this is the cash index. As we can observe here, market close was went very close to this only resistance that we have on our chart. So now the question is this the test of the trend line? Because we come really close to it, and now we could get maybe a deeper pullback to again test these two highs, or maybe even lower. Now note that selling was really mild so far and on lower volume, and it wasn't really surprising after all of this on the S&P and on the Nasdaq going higher with the bearish divergence. And then we got on Wednesday, here is the Wednesday, and on Friday good size liquidation breaks. Selling started, this serious selling started pretty late on Wednesday, but on Friday we get this kind of situation that selling started from the open. So sellers were active from the open on the S&P, on the Nasdaq also. They all have this uptrust, which is basically a false breakout above the previous range, and the same was on Russell on smaller time frames. Now back to the larger time frames. This is 240-minute chart. We already saw where the S&P was, and with this bearish divergence. And this is the situation on the Russell. It was here 8 or 9 trading days inside this range and then dropped below it. So this could mean a possible rolling over maybe to this next support. We shall see next week what will come. On the daily charts, again, this is the biggest inflection point now for the S&P, and any serious selling with higher volume could occur if we dip below this. Now note the similarities between this top and this top here. This top here came as a false break of this one. So here, this top from January 2018, when they break above that top, it was a retest, so classical back test of it, going higher, and then all of this here, this period here, for several weeks was a bull trap. So here all the buyers that were Johnny come late buyers, weak hands, were shaken out later, but by this single candle. This single candle was a drop below daily 50. This blue one is daily 50, red one is daily 200. And now we have here again, then this was the new all-time high, then again there was uptrust above that new all-time high, and again good dip. So this here area could also be a bull trap, where for some weeks bulls were going to be trapped and then forced to sell their position to liquidate if the market goes down. At the end of the month we will have FOMC statement and Fed meeting, and on that meeting everybody expects the rate cut, and probability for that is 100%. It is only a matter of size of that rate cut, and most likely it's going to be the smaller one. And still the question remains, how much of that rate cut is already calculated into all of this? And we will get the answer on a chart itself, because if this is a reaction from the trend line, then this could be next to test these lower areas that comes very close now to the price, and to see what comes next. And this is some change in the market narrative, this liquidation breaks. So again, what are the possible scenarios? If this is the test of the rising trend line, we could get here a bounce from this support and maybe go higher, test this line again and break out above it, or there could be a false breakdown below this area and then we again breaking higher, and then we will see what, or market would go with more volume, faster tempo, and with maybe some trend down on day activity through this 2950, 2940, and then we could see a bigger rollover to the downside, and we could use then these all the areas that were first resistance, then support, and then act now and as support, daily 50 and the daily 200, and this area of support here. And now let's observe for a bit what German DAX is doing. So this is the daily chart of the German DAX, and as we can see here, this blue line is the daily 50. We got a bounce from the daily 50 both on Thursday and basically on Friday almost. So far this daily 50 is serving as support, and as we can see, daily 50 was this is a simple moving average, and it was really useful in engaging the market strength on several occasions. First, here in this big leg to the downside, it was used as a resistance, and price were below it. Once they made a move above it, here and here and here and here and here, now this moving average was acting as support. Daily 200 also resistance here, support here, so we are going to observe this. And again, this is the two simple scenarios which I had placed on this chart before. Now DAX is a weaker index, and DAX is here and now leaning to this bearish scenario of rolling over. And once if we would see next week a breakdown of 12,200, then logical target would be 12k. Just note that we have On Thursday, a ECB main refinancing rate and ECB press conference and policy statement, and there we could get Mario Draghi with the dovish tone, bazooka and whatnot to again initiate a move to the upside. As we can surely remember, last of such moves was here. This was the candle, one of his speeches, and that single speech lifted the DAX from 12k to 12,300. So we had a trend up day on June the 18th. And you can find all about that day on my site in the examples. If you want to observe how the trend up days it is here in the June, one of these examples is for the June 18th, that trend up day that was news induced. On the cash chart, we can observe that first unfilled gaps 12,544, and to the downside is on 11,953 from June the 6th. And unlike the S&P and Nasdaq, DAX went higher without bearish divergence, but then we have this kind of structure, pretty much head and shoulders looking structure with the price breaking down first from this channel in not so convincing manner. It was very controlled selling. As I said before, this is not the selling that we have seen here in fall and winter of last year. Wide range bars to the downside, and the ATR back then was 200-250 points, and on some days even higher than that. So this is the period here which lasts for several weeks with the ATR of around 130 points, and here this is really this level 12,200 is the basement door, basically, because here was the first test of that level, and that level now got tested a few times more. And if the seller side continue to press here at this level and zone of support, would likely crack at the end. We were going to observe this highs, and if this sequence of lower highs is going to continue, then we could get a move to the downside, and also to observe this area here around 12,300, which serves as resistance now. So this is the first resistance which bulls has to overcome in order to negate this pattern. If this pattern triggers, targets for this pattern are first targets around 12k and then lower. So we shall see what is going to happen, and again note that this week that is in front of us is really busy week, full with earnings, full with news. Not so much on Monday and on Tuesday, but Wednesday and Thursday and Friday is going to be really full. Of course, if you are interested in DAX trading, in trading the German DAX, I'm inviting you to check my site. Here it is, StrayDog.trading.com, and on the homepage of my site you can learn more about what is this daily dose of DAX service, which is an analytical service for DAX traders. What am I providing for them, and you can find here. And that is it for this edition of DAX recap videos. I wish you a good weekend and good trading.